Welcome along to the Grumpy Old Football Show. It's great footy chat with just a few more grey hairs. We're in the company of Tony Woodcock, of Peter Reid, of Viv Anderson, and our special guest today is the one and only Paul Walsh. Walshy's with us. Was anybody bothered about England and Andorra?
Well, I don't watch football anymore, any of it, and I haven't watched England. You know, we're looking at the TV and thinking, shall I watch the golf? Shall I watch the tennis or Andorra, or whatever it is? Yeah, I didn't even bother. I get so frustrated watching England play football, going nowhere on a football pitch. But even that's Andorra, which you should wipe the floor with them. Even the lesser nations have got better. But I find it the most frustrating experience. I remember watching it. Was it the last Euros? England playing up the sides, coming out, going it, trying to go in there, trying to go into Harry Kane. People saying about Harry Kane, how he's got to stop coming. And this was Alan Shearer and people like that were saying that. And I'm like, yeah, but he don't get a kick because the midfield players, none of them are even looking for him when they get on the ball. They're not even looking for that forward pass. They're looking to keep it and play their way through in front of everybody. And the only time you ever get him behind it at all is when you get an overload in the wide positions, right? And whether it's Saka and Walker going down the outside, maybe that gets Saka to come inside, or Walker might get across him, but even if he does, who's in there anyway? Maybe Bellingham, and it's the most frustrating experience. And then, I remember being in Spain on a golf trip with a couple of lads, Dave Moss. You remember Dave Moss?
Yeah.
And then we're in a hotel and we're watching England. Was it Croatia in the semi-final? You will never get a better chance, in my opinion, to win the World Cup, right, against Croatia. And yet we actually we had the way we played them was better than the way we play now, in my opinion. But we still, I suppose I'm reluctant to not get Gareth because he's such a nice bloke. But I suppose the best way I can describe how I used to see England playing is with the handbrake half on. And we never really let ourselves go, especially when I look at the amount of talent we have in our football teams over the last couple of generations. It's just scandalous we haven't done better. But, I think being England manager, I think it's, I'm going to go back again. It was either the Euros before that, I can't remember. I remember watching a game. It was Italy, Spain, and I'm like, it was Sugar Ray Leonard and Thomas Hitman Zern having a fight. It was one of the best fights I've ever seen. You attack, we attack, you attack, we attack. The problem was Spain ended up losing 3-2 to Italy, and then I think England played them in the final. And Luis Enrique got the sack, right? But it was the best game of football I saw in the whole tournament, right? But I think, we try to win, trying not to lose. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
And that fear and that expectation overwhelms us every time and makes the manager of the England side always play with caution, which I sort of understand. It's a huge job, but it's just shit to watch.
I think when you're talking about England, as a coach, I think when you're playing Andorra, somebody like that, I'd get it wide and take chances. And by the way, when balls shot, I think we're a bit sceptical of taking chances against the Italy, the Spains, because they might counter attack you. What's it called nowadays when it counters?
Well, I hear transition a lot.
That's it. Yeah, get done on transition. But as a coach, I'd go to lads. Hey lads, let's go against these. And I'm not being disrespectful. Let's put them under pressure. And against the top side, obviously possessions important. I remember the semi-final at Wembley. I was at the game. We're 1-0 up and we're playing well. And I just thought Italy were getting the grip in the middle of the park. I think Boccini should have got sent off. They got away with it. But even then, I thought we didn't go for it. We didn't make substitutions when they got in it. And I just thought we were on the back foot. And like you, Walsh, I think sometimes get on the front foot, go for it. Hey, get at people. And that's my philosophy. I understand getting done on the counter, but you've got to put people under pressure.
Yeah. Well, Spain and Italy, two great nations of football, can do it. Surely we can, adopt that mentality if you like. But it's sort of it's like we're the nearly men, aren't we? He's done great, and they saw it as progress. Getting to a semi-final of a World Cup, getting to a final of a Euros. Whereas actually, I didn't look at it like that at all. I didn't see it as progress.
There's no risk taking, no one taking anyone on. If you got the ball going towards the penalty box, we're always told, right? Even if you don't get past the defender once or twice, you're going to do it at some time, and you're going to have them on the back foot. As Walsh said, it's as boring as hell, possession football. You're not on the edge of your seat. I went to the Arsenal game, the new players they've got, the guy they got from Chelsea, playing on the right wing. No respect. Raw respect. Leeds weren't particularly good, so you've got a chance of really taking them apart. And I didn't see this desire to go and, get past someone and get in the penalty box. The centre forward as well, Gorkarez is it. Willing lad running around, but still, I would have been going completely mad, and no balls have been played. Particularly in the last 20 minutes, Arsenal are 4-0 up and they're tapping it around at the back. It's an absolute nightmare for any striker this day and age, right? There's no one looking to play them in, to take a risk of a pass, right? To get it in there and get the rewards from it.
Elliot Anderson, Viv, you're super impressed with him, basically.
I saw him quite a lot last year. 3 or 4 games I went, and I always picked him out, along with Gibbs White as well. They're both good players. But last night, I thought he was excellent. Got the ball, tried to play forward, not play square, tried to play through the lines, as they say, VD.
Excuse me. Is he the boy Newcastle had to sell?
Yes.
ESR.
Yes.
What a fucking nonsense. Anyhow,
you're talking about maybe it's a little bit boring, Walshy, the football at the moment. Is it Pep? I mean, his Barcelona teams were absolutely unbelievable, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean, the team that he had at Barcelona was probably the best football team I've ever seen in terms of just the quality right through the team. And then he came to Man City. He built a team that again played amazing football, a different way, and everybody marvelled at it. Having a 5-a-side in your own penalty area. I was behind the sofa going, "Oh my God, what are they doing?" And then they play out from the back and pick teams off, and it was fantastic. But slowly over time, the other thing that I look at football now, everyone has adopted the same style of play to some degree. And I live in Southampton, right? Russell Martin, right? Last season, right? They lost apparently more goals than anybody else, because I know loads of Southampton fans used to drive me mad trying to talk about it, about how they play out from the back. They're the worst at it, conceded more goals. His arrogance, he would not change the way they played. That was his philosophy, right? And, they got relegated, and he lost his job because and I thought the art of being a football manager was finding a way to get a result. And apparently he's gone up to Rangers. He's doing exactly the same at Hammersmith. So he ain't going to have a job for too much longer by the looks of it, because he will not change his philosophy. But the philosophy is try and win a game somehow by changing your style, the way that you do it, and adapting. The other thing I think, Vincent Kompany, for instance, Burnley gets them promoted, but gets them relegated. And it's all right getting promoted, but then when you get up to the next level, where you ain't going to be able to play the same way because you haven't got the same quality, adapting as a manager to get a result. Gets a Bayern Munich job. Well, we know that's a Pep connection. But oh my God, I look at all this stuff and I think, do you know what? Put the golf on.
Hey, by the way, what about that McElroy putt?
Oh,
what about the crowds? I'm sorry to get onto something else, but I was jumping up and down like a lunatic. I thought I was watching a footy match.
Yeah, no, it was unbelievable, wasn't it? 30-foot putt or whatever it was, with a lot of swaz on it, straight in. And bless the poor lad who was like a million miles
in the water.
It would have been so nice for him to win, and he kills him, doesn't it? But it was great. It was nice. Well, I watched the golf.
And then did you watch the tennis afterwards?
Yes, I did.
Yes.
And I'm marvelling at it. I'm marvelling at the tennis. Going, oh my God! I watched. I tell you what. So I watched, for some reason, I must have been really bored. I flicked on whatever that tournament was, where Chelsea are playing PSG. Right? And I watched, what's his name? One who scored 2 goals. Cole Palmer. I watched him. He's someone who could make me want to watch football when I watched him that day. The one that just went past the post. Yeah. 2 great goals he scored. the way that he attacks people and gets at them, the little pass, the little angled pass into the box for the other goal, I could watch him. He excited me that day watching that. Right,
And Pep got rid of him.
Yeah, well, yeah, the money. It's the old money job again. When Peter was just on about PSR, is it? Is that what it's called? Yeah, I think it was one of them again. But but yeah, that excited me. I watched it on. But the thing was, I watched a YouTube clip of it, so it was like a 5-minute, just the goals, his action, and it was amazing. I thought the way he played in those moments. But again, it's the spectacle of a 90-minute game. I've fallen out of love with it. I just can't watch it. I can't sit through a game of football.
We're as a world, we're all short attention spans now. There's no doubt about it. Well, see, what about Liverpool? I guess it was a dream move. Was it a dream to play alongside Kenny Dalglish?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up loving Kenny. Sort of watched him as a player, saw what I think I could do, what maybe he did. I remember I watched him 77 at Wembley, just thinking over the keeper against Bruges, and that back to goal sort of striker. And when you're a smaller type of player, there's only so many ways you can play, really. And so I looked to learn from him. And it was a bit of an idol, Kenny. My dad had always banged on about Jimmy Greaves as the best goal scorer footballer he'd ever seen. And I sort of, I don't know where my career's going. At 14, I'm nearly getting let go at Charlton because I'm too small. And at 15 and 16, that all changed. And suddenly I've got a career. I don't know where it's going. And then it started. I didn't want to go to Luton, for instance, because I thought I could get a better move. But Luton was perfect when I look back on it. 100 games, a lesser club, learning at that level. And then at 21, getting that move to Liverpool. And I made my debut alongside Kenny Dalglish against West Ham, my dad's team, and I scored in 14 seconds. And I think it's still a record, actually. But I loved it. Playing at Anfield. I mean, my first ever game at Anfield was for Luton in a 3-3 draw, and we had 3 goalkeepers that day. Jake Finley, bless him, he passed away recently. Mal Donald and Kirk Stevens all winning goal at different times. And it was my first experience of playing at Anfield against Souness, Dalglish, and all them that great team, Hanson, Lawrence, and it was an amazing experience. To dream that I might one day be Gazza that team was amazing.
Graham Souness is a great pal of mine. He said when he signed for Liverpool, I said, "What did he say to you?" He said, "Well, we bought you. Go and play. No tactics. Yeah. Just go and play."
No. I mean, yeah. I mean, my first trip was to the European Cup final in Rome. So I trained the day before, and we get on the plane, fly out there, and then I trained in the morning. And I remember as we was, this was harsh. I'm rooming with Phil Thompson, and I'm going to get on the coach because I don't know the script. I'm going to go, and Joe Fagan went, "Tomo, you're not involved. Get on with the women." And that's how he found out he weren't involved. He went to me and you. And I weren't, obviously I knew I weren't involved. I went to get on. Tomo was devastated, and that's how he found out. But in the little training bits, it was just always the same. I know you've all heard it a million times. It was, jumpers for goalposts almost and a 5-a-side. And that's what it was most of the time. But quality players moving the ball quickly.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Great. There were things that happened, without boring you to death, about injuries and stuff like that. I could go on about it forever, but
go on about it forever.
No. So, Liverpool weren't a great place to be injured, and I remember early on, the reason I started up front with Kenny Dalglish was Ian Rush had a cartilage. So I played the first half a dozen games. And I remember chesting the ball in training. And as I put my foot forward, I felt my knee pop. And I'm rubbing my knee, and Joe Fagan went, "Oh, look at Walsh. Look at Walsh. He thinks he's Ian Rush." And so anyway, I remember playing away at Tottenham, and my knee locked up, and I had a cartilage. That's what I had. So I have the operation, come back, and and bang, I'm in the team. But Joe Fagan did make me feel 10 feet tall, because no matter what injury I had, he wanted me in the team. And I had what was eventually a hernia, but the surgeon at Liverpool wanted to operate on my abductor. But anyway, I was limping to the end of the season, and Joe said, "Look, just try. Don't train, just play." And that made me feel unbelievable to think that man wanted me in the team no matter what, And up front was me, Rush, and Dalglish. Kenny just playing in behind. And, the Hazel tragedy, which was a terrible night for English football, for Liverpool, for Reedy, really, because they just won the title and they never got to play in Europe the following season. And it was an awful night. But from an injury perspective as well, I've come off that night. I've gone home. I used to live with the doctor's daughter at Luton. Got very, bless him. And he's put a bit of force on my right leg, said, "You're right." Put a bit of force on my leg. I went, "Oh," he put his finger in my lower pubic area. He went, "You've got a hernia." He went, "I'll sort that for tomorrow." And so he sorted a guy called Polyzoides in Birmingham. I went and got my operation, got it done. Then Kenny was announced as manager. My first interaction with Kenny was he had the ump with me going and getting my own operation. I said, "Well, fucking no one knows what they're doing here. It's useless." And he didn't like the fact that I was dissing the club a bit. I wasn't dissing the club, but anyway, it was useless. I was just pointing out the blindingly obvious. Anyway, and then we fast forward, I'm having my best season. It's the 86 double winning season. Things going great. I couldn't have hoped for anything better. I was loving it. And I remember it was home to Man United. As I jumped, my foot got caught between Kevin Moran's legs as they crossed, and it twisted my ankle round. Anyway, I've ruptured my ankle ligaments. Not that Roy Evans knows this. So Roy comes running on, bit of sponge, bit of spray, and then he's gone like that with my ankle, whirled it around. I'm like, "Oh, what are you doing, Roy?" And off we limp. And, the surgeon, to be fair to Roy, we go and see the surgeon. The surgeon says, "Give it 10 weeks, 8 to 10 weeks, you should be fine." And 6 to 8 weeks, Dalglish says to me, wee man, just give us an hour. I went, "Gaff, I can't run properly." "Yeah, just give us an hour." So anyway, I just wanted to please Kenny. That's really what I wanted to do. So I went and played. I come off in 20 minutes. And then after that, I never got another bonus. And so I believe the reason he put me in the team was so he could get me off the bonuses. There was no other logical conclusion. And then we had a proper fuck off across his desk. I know I'm only small, but I'm like a little bomb when I go off. It's, and I lose all perspective, and say things I shouldn't say. So I certainly never helped myself with the things I said. But and then by the time I get back, I have another injury, and we're playing Everton in the Screen Sports Super Cup final. Kenny, I weren't even supposed to be on the bench because I hadn't played or trained. I think Loro had a tummy bug. Anyway, he went, "Do you want to go on the bench?" I went, yeah, of course I do. I was double keen to get back. Anyway, he says, "Go on with 10 minutes to go and have a run round." So I run around, my legs are wobbling. I ain't played for months. I go up in the air and come down, I land on my arm a bit awkward, and coming after, I went, "Oh, Evo, my arm's killing me." He went, "Fuck off, you soft cons," and all right. And so I drive home like that. I can't use my left arm. So I'm driving manual with, changing through the gears, holding the steering wheel, changing through the gears. Got home, couldn't sleep, come back in, same palaver again. Can't really get my kit on just about. I'm limping. I'm not limping, but I'm protecting my arm in training. Boy, soft ass, get yourself up the hospital. So I go up the hospital, come back in plaster, just under my armpit. Anyway, lads just laughing. But I'm laughing, but I'm crying, really. I've been out 7 months, and I've missed 2 straight pre-seasons, and I've just, it's come off the back of my, I've missed the FA Cup final. I'm devastated because as a kid, you want to play in an FA Cup final, don't you? And I ended up cutting a plaster down to my elbow, and then I used to have to go and see the ref. I went straight in the first team, go and see the ref, and the ref, he padded it all out, and they'd be knocking it and going, "Oh, I'm not really happy, but go on then." But I scored a hat-trick in my second game. I was playing on fumes, no fitness, and then I went 8 without a goal. I think it was 8 or 9 without a goal, and the crowd are moaning. And then Sean Aldridge turned up. Great lad, Aldo. I liked Aldo. Him and Rush played together. You wouldn't think that would be a great combo, but they scored goals and we kept winning. That meant I never got back in. And then at the end of that season, they bought Barnes and Beardsley, and suddenly, I'm out of it, and I've got a year left, and I can't accept it. I really can't accept it. The shit treatment led to me not being fit, which led to them getting a player who, I'm out the team. Well, whether Kenny would have bought someone else anyway, I don't know. I've never asked him the question. I struggle with Kenny, if I'm honest, no matter where I am. I remember I was at the Manga, and I was chipping with a 7-iron, and he went, "Wee man, no chipping on here." Felt like telling him to fuck off. It was like, 20 years later, you're still fucking haunting me on the chipping green about what? Oh my God, I wanted to wrap it around his head. So he ain't a go-to person for me.
Exactly. Actually, did you play for England when we played in France and Platini scored a free kick?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I was rooming with Kenny Sanson, bless him, and I remember it well.
He took it twice and put it in the same corner.
Yeah.
He was unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of my again in the European Super Cup final against Juventus. He played with Zbigniew Boniek, another fabulous footballer, and again in the European Cup final in '85, he played in that. He's up there with one of my all-time bests. Not quite Maradona and Messi, but he's in that next level of unbelievable footballers for me. He was a terrific player, wasn't he? It was a great experience for me. I was only a kid. I was brand new. Me and Brian Steen played that day.
I was going to ask you who you played up front with. It was Brian Steen, wasn't it?
Yeah, and Steenie sort of didn't continue, and I did for a little bit, but not much. Shot.
How many caps did you get in the end?
I only got 5. I mean,
did you?
Yeah, I mean, I look back on my life and I hate myself for some of the things I did. I hate myself. So when I went to sign for Liverpool, Joe Fagan says to me, he said, "I want you to come to the European Cup final in Rome." And I'm thinking, yeah, I love that. And then we're going to Swaziland to play a game, 2 games against Tottenham. You got 5 days in, you go where you want in the middle, and then there's £1,000 in it for you. And I thought, well, that sounds great. But I had the European under-21 final. I was feeling a bit jaded, right? Because I played about 50 games, and it was 42 games, then the England bits and pieces, then the under-21 games as well. And in my head at that moment, I had 5 full England caps, 10 under-21 caps. I was sort of main man in the under-21s, but I've convinced myself I was more full England international. So no phones, no mobiles, none of that. So I asked David Pleat, because I hadn't quite signed for Liverpool, to phone Bobby Robson and tell him I wouldn't be playing in the under-21 final. I'm going away with Liverpool. And I left it there. And the next day, I picked the newspaper out, and the back page said, "Bobby boots out Walsh. If he can't motivate himself to play in a European under-21 final, he's not for me." I went, oh, wow. Do you know what? I'm joining Liverpool. I'll get back in the England team. And I never did. And I went away. And the only time I probably should have gone, if I wouldn't have been fit anyway, would have been '86. I would have had a chance. No, I was in the PFA All-Star 11. Lineker was in it. Mark Hughes was in it. Rush and Dalglish weren't in it. And things couldn't have gone any better until I got that injury that I spoke about. And anyway, I'd gone away with. This is quite funny. So Souness after he didn't play any of the games, couldn't be bothered to get up and play the games. I had to play. We was drunk playing the games virtually, and he come round with the money. So he's giving me an envelope. Thanks, Graham, because I loved him. He's great, wasn't he? And I've opened the envelope. There's only 500 quid in it. Ooh, what do you do? So I had a quick ponder, and I went back there and went, "Tapped or something, Graham." I knew how he felt. I'd done nothing. Everyone was getting £1,000. I hadn't done anything, and I'm getting £1,000. I knew how he felt, but I didn't think that was good enough reason for him to have half of my grand. And tapped on the shoulder, "Graham, ain't being funny. Peter Robinson told me I was getting £1,000." So he looked at me and he fucking stared at me and he fucking counted it out and he almost chucked it at me, but I got it. And in a funny way, I think it endeared me to him a little bit. But we went down to Durban for 5 days. There was about 8 of us went down to Durban in the break between the 2 games we were playing. And he was having a drink, and I was getting on fine with him. And then he got a phone call, Graham, and he flew home and signed for Sampdoria, and that was it. That was the last last dealings with him in terms of the football. I mean, listen, I got some great memories. If you'd have said to me at 14, when Charlton are nearly releasing me, this will be your career. Do you want it? I would have snapped your hands off.
Yeah.
At the end of it, do I have several regrets about the way I was, the way I dealt with situations, my behaviour at times? Yes, I do.
What about you 3? Have you got regrets?
Yeah, meeting Tony Woodcock as an apprentice.
Yeah. Okay. No regrets. No regrets whatsoever. Getting back to the money situation there, we played in Romania, Forest. They were giving these envelopes out of cash. I can't remember. Let's say we weren't getting much. It was something like 20 quid or something like that. And we all open them. There's 20 quid in there or whatever. And Viv opens his. He's got 40 quid in there. And Viv goes, "Oh, look at this. I've got this." Cluffy whipped it off his hand and said, "That's for Jimmy Gordon, the coach. So that's not yours, son." Yeah. So that was happening all the time.
If there's any tax inspectors watching, I never got any brown envelope.
No. I gave mine to charity anyway. I'm such a good lad. After watching that thing about HMRC and all the players the other day, oh my God.
What was it like playing with Gazza?
I never found Gazza great for a forward player because Gazza didn't like to pass it. He only ever wanted you to, as a 1-2, because he'd beat everyone, and then he's on the edge of the box. You'd peel off for a little one, slipped up the side, and it weren't coming. You'd come back, and then he'd play a little give and go in the box, go round the keeper and score, or just shoot it in the top, maybe bang it in the top. Amazing footballer, unbelievable, talented, massively flawed man in many other ways, a bit like a lot of us really. But Tottenham was the most dysfunctional football club I was ever involved with. We had too many people. I remember, and Gazza. I remember saying to him years later, "You should have gone to Man United," because I think the only thing that you could punish Gazza with was not playing football. Whether Ferguson would have done that or not, I don't know. But he might have had the guts to do it. Terry just let him run amok. And because Gazza ran amok, everybody else ran amok, and you had bedlam, And another funny one, because Peter liked this one. So I'd had some run-ins with Pat Van Den Al, right, in the moat-house in Liverpool with Roy Wright. You remember Roy Wright? Roy was a mate of mine. And he stood with Graham Sharp, and I've gone down to say hello to Roy. And Pat Van Den Al stood there like this. He had this like orange silk shirt on. And I was with John Barnes, and he said something real derogatory about Barnes when I turned up. And I went, got your missus blouse on, have you? And his arm come out round my throat, and I smacked his arm away, and Roy went, yeah. And it always like that. So I'm at Tottenham, and I've absolutely slaughtered him to everyone, because there was a rumour he was coming to Tottenham. I've battered him to everyone. Anyway, Paul Stewart was quite a funny lad. Well, very funny lad, actually. Stewie's got it all up here. He's remembered everything I've said. And as Pat Van Den Al walked in, he just rattled off everything I'd said about him. and he's like, Pat Van Den Al, he was a strange boy, Pat.
His back was weird in his fight, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean,
he's great, lad. But when he used to give you that stare, psycho.
Yeah, but talking to massively flawed people, he's one of them. It was a proper mixed up bloke, with all that stuff that was going on. But anyway, but he was a good looking boy, good footballer, but just strange, just strange. But anyway, there you go. So, but Gazza was amazing, but caused bedlam. And we all lived in a hotel for a bit together. I joined in March, he comes in July, Paul Stewart. And West Park Lodges, Viv and Woody and he kept farting really loudly at breakfast because it was an old school sort of clientele there. Another big word for me. And they never took kindly to that, the management, so they asked him to leave. So him and Stewie went down to the Swallow, which is down at Waltham Abbey, where a lot of football teams ended up staying in the future. And and then they forgot about me. And I had 6 months in my contract in the hotel. Venables come to me one day. He went, I was doing a house up over the road, and it was like a bomb site. He went, "You still in that hotel?" I went, "Yeah." He said, "You got a week, get out." I thought, "Where am I going to live?" So I phoned Naeem up, and he had a twin room. So I got all my gear together and moved in with him. But now I'm with Gazza, Stewie, and eventually there was Eric Torstead, Goodney Bergson, they were nice, sensible people. So now there's me, Naeem, Gazza, Paul Stewart, it was crackers. Honestly, it was crackers every day. Some of it was funny, some of it was ridiculous, and some of it, mental. Yeah. So we were just badly behaved. And Gazza had an air rifle, and I remember once he said, "Oh, Jimmy, 5 days." He said, "I'll give Jimmy it." He said, "Jimmy, there's 50 quid. Take your shirt off. I'm going to shoot you with my air rifle from 3 yards. I want to see what sort of mark it makes." And he shot him in the back, and this red ripple went like that across his back, and he's rolling around, Jimmy. And Gazza's on the floor laughing. And another one, we was in the bar, we was having a few drinks, and I forget, Gazza must have had a cigar. And he said, "Jimmy, I'll give you 50 quid if you let me hold this on the end of your nose for 10 seconds. So Stewie, we're all holding Jimmy down. And he's jabbed it on the end of his nose, and his head's rattling like that. And he burnt the end of his nose off there. For about 2 months, Jimmy had the biggest scab on the end of his nose you could see. And this was the entertainment in the hotel, by the way. This is what was happening on a daily basis, and it was just like that. Then you go into training, and Gaz he brought an ostrich into training one day. He was running around the training ground. Another day he brought in. It was in a camper van, and there was, you always get a few busies around the training ground. Well, he put a bull up on the top. There's a ladder going down the back of the camper van. He's put a bull up the top, and he's pulled in. And he's gone to the busy. "Oh, just go and grab that bull for us, will you, mate?" So the bloke's getting up the ladder. He's got in. He spun it round. He drove out the training ground, and he drove about 100 yards. And there's a mini roundabout, and he just kept going round the mini roundabout time and time again. And the bloke's like that on the back, And then he came back in the training ground and deliberately threw the back of the van round, and the bloke went flying off into the car park. And Gaz would get out laughing, and that was every day at training. Gary Mabbott, right? So we had a chimney breast in a changing rooms, and Mabsy's book was out Against All Odds. So he's taped all his gear up the chimney breast, his jumper, his trousers, his shoes were splayed like that, and the book was sat between his shoes. And he scribbled out odds and put style, so it read Against All Style, and all his stuff was taped up the chimney breast. So Mabsy would come in, who's Captain Sensible, our only proper player really, and looked at him and weren't happy. But Gazza just got off on that every day. But it was energy sapping and distracting. On a football pitch, he was amazing, so people put up with it. But amazing football player, bit of a but low self-esteem in so many other ways in terms of how he looked at himself. But I still speak to him occasionally. But yeah,
absolutely fantastic to see Walshy in Walshy form. Thanks to Tony, thanks to Reedy, thanks to Viv, and no doubt Walshy will be back with us because we have found a definitely grumpy old man.
Absolutely, Walshy. Well done, son.
Yeah, lovely.
Excellent.
It's a pleasure, Walshy.
We found another grumpy old man. Please subscribe, the Grumpy Old Football Show. Free to subscribe. Just press the button. We're getting great feedback from everybody, so please keep watching. Thanks for your company. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.